you think it could be possible? Do you think it really, really could be possible? All of us together can change the way the world works.
All of us together can change the way the world works.
You and me together will change the way the world works.
You and me together will change the way the world works.
Oh, I've been thinking about you. How you are just like me. So why do they treat you so differently? So differently. We're gonna be told a load of lies.
We're gonna be told a load of lies.
How to be scared and how to close our eyes.
How to be scared and how to close our eyes.
Yeah, we've been led by villains and fools.
We've been led by villains and fools.
It's time to leave them behind, there is work to do.
Leave them behind, there is work to do.
We'll do it all, a smile on our face. Let the ego die, the heart take its place. The ego die, the heart take its place. Do you think it could be possible?
Yes, I think it could be possible.
Do you think it really, really could be possible?
Yes, I think it really could be possible.
All of us together can change the way the world works.
All of us together can change the way the world works.
You and me together will change the way the world works.
You and me together will change the way the world works.
You ever wonder why they keep trying to say that it's all okay when there's so much we must change? So much we gotta change. I'm finally woken up and it feels so good to have understood. We're all in this together. All in this together. One family together. One family together. Oh, there's been so much pain. Sometimes I don't think we can change. So I guess it isn't possible.
Yes, it is. Of course, a change is possible.
They're always saying the saying isn't possible.
Yes, it is. Of course, a change is possible. All of us together can change the way the world works.
All of us together can change the way the world
Oh, you
works.
and me together will change the way the world
Yeah,
works.
you and me together will change the way the world works. Do it all with a smile on our face. Let the ego die, the heart take its place. The ego die, the heart take its place. Yeah. Do you think it could be possible?
Yes, I think it could be possible.
Do you think it really, really could be possible?
Yes, I think it could be possible. Yes, I think it could be possible. Yes, I think it could be possible.
Cool.
Good morning. Welcome to the home of Calgary Unitarians. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in your journey of faith or search for meaning, welcome. If you're visiting us for the first time or the first time in a long time, know that we are grateful to have you with us. Welcome. We come together in beloved community to grow in wisdom, to welcome and deepen relationships, and act for a just and sustainable world. My name is Jane Evern, and I have the privilege of serving on your board of trustees. I started coming to this congregation over 20 years ago, looking for a non-dogmatic spiritual home. And I have stayed because of the warmth of the community and our shared values. We acknowledge that this meeting today takes place in the traditional territories of the people of the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wellesley First Nations of the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We acknowledge that we are all treaty people. And now to our minister, Reverend Deborah Falk, for our chalice lighting.
Good morning. In this time of uncertainty, when everything around us is changing constantly, each day new developments, rising numbers, changing guidelines, when the world we live in suddenly seems upside down and topsy-turvy, we light our chalice to remind ourselves of our grounding in our faith. We remember that the flaming chalice came into being as a beacon of hope during World War II, a secret symbol that offered help. In the midst of all, we wrap ourselves in the warm light of a familiar flame, a reminder of the strength that emerges when we are together in community. It is so good to be together, apart and together, as we settle into this new extended time of physically distancing and figuring out ways to stay connected while doing so. Please remember to have patience and be kind. There have been a few glitches and challenges with some of the Zoom links, and we are working through them. And then just when I started feeling like I had a handle on this Zoom meeting thing, Zoom is increasing security protocols. Because for reasons that confound me, some people are intruding in other people's meetings and disrupting them. Those protocols started today, and if you find yourself thwarted getting into the post-coffee service, try using the word 1703 as a password. It's our building address, 1703. And please watch your weekly communication for updated login information as we adjust. It is good for us to connect whenever and however we can. And there are so many opportunities, and you will receive them in the Staying Connected email that you will receive no later than Tuesday morning. One of the things that's happened is at our pub night, the first Wednesday of the month, people had such a wonderful time connecting that we all decided that we ought to have social hour every Wednesday night. So that'll be an addition, 7 to 8:30 on Wednesday evenings. So I've noticed a shift as this physical distancing and personal isolation extends. Anxiety increasing and fear and uncertainty are so present. This is no longer just 14 days that I could manage. It's now, we don't know how long. And I found myself reminded of a friend of mine who is a foster parent who did a course on managing a disruptive teenager and talked about frustration and anger. And frustration comes from a lack of knowing or understanding. And anger comes from a lack of control. I think we're all feeling all of this right now. So I invite you to please express your frustration and your criticism, to be sure, but perhaps think about also offering affirmation and appreciation along with it. This could perhaps be an attitude that would be good for our mental health as anxiety increases. Along with the anxiety, though, I'm hearing so many stories of hope, of connecting, and of healing. A mother whose estranged son, 10 years absent from her life, called and they now chat daily. Reunions of all sorts are happening, and the environment is receiving so many blessings as one of the consequences of this pandemic and our individual isolation. We are using less, slowing down, and reflecting on what is really important. And at the top of the list is relationships. I know a lot of people have come to mind for me who I haven't thought of in years, and some I've reached out to. So, Kate, stay connected. And thank you so much for connecting here this morning. And now I'd like to invite our Director of Music, Jane Perry, to offer a few words.
Good morning, friends. It's good to be together with you in this online environment. So here we are, and I think it could be possible, just like our opening video. That was a Halifax musician named Jute who put together a music video involving a lot of people from the greater community in Halifax. And in that group, there were several Unitarians from the Halifax congregation. So really, this is a cross-country celebration, all of us in this together. We're all in isolation, we're all in quarantine, and yet here we all are online. And I know for a fact we have friends here from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia this morning. Warm welcome to you and to all. We're all in it together, and as I think about that idea, I'm thinking about the fact that this weekend would have been our big cabaret weekend, Cabaret 2020, where the theme was going to be homemade music, folk, roots, country, and blues. The choir and I are still really excited about this project, so we're just going to hold on to it and hope to be able to present it to you, all of us together in the same room, having a great time sometime in the fall. At Cabaret a couple of years ago, we performed a piece, Corvita performed a piece called The Caffeine Overload Polka, which was sort of a poke at those of us who enjoy maybe a little bit too much caffeine. That piece was written by a musical genius named Eric Lane Barnes. It turns out Mr. Barnes is also a UU music director at a church in the United States. He has rewritten one of the favorite Unitarian hymns, especially for openings, called Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, to be retitled Log On, Rejoice, and Zoom In. So please sing along with Eric Lane Barnes.
Here is Log On, Rejoice, and Zoom In. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Keep on washing your hands. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. We can love from 6 feet away. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, log on, and zoom in. No need to feel you're alone. No need to feel you're alone. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in. Log on, rejoice, and zoom in.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheila McMaster, Director of Religious Education here at the Calgary Unitarians. And as promised last week, I have plans. So you might be wondering, what are the kids doing this week? And they have their own Zoom Kids Power Hour on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. In line with our 7th principle, we're going to be continuing looking at seeds and learning about spring gardening. Last week was a lot of fun. Afterwards, the kids just kept chatting, and then they went on Roblox, which is an online game, and had some fun there as well. For youth, today at 2 p.m., we're checking in and practicing finding hope when feeling hopeless. And I also have some fun memes to share. For young adults, 40-ish and under, is today at 6 p.m. So check in, playing cards virtually, bring your deck of cards. And this week, I was inspired by 2 articles. Dr. McCullough, How Hugs Heal, and Healthline's Benefits of Hugging. And I made a list of the many benefits of hugs and 7 kind of hugs that you can do at home. So let's start with the benefits. A 20-second hug reduces stress, improves blood pressure, heart rate, fights infections, boosts your immune system, eases depression, lessens fatigue, lessens fatigue. Hugs release oxytocin, which is a hormone associated with forming bonds and happiness. And hugs are also good for the giver. So there's a quote from Bill Keane that says, "A hug is like a boomerang. You get it back right away." So hugs are also free. Where can I sign up? I'm going to sign up for lots of hugs, lots and lots of hugs. So feel free to send me hugs. How many hugs do we need? So family therapist Virginia Satir says we need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and 12 hugs a day for growth. And you might say, well, what if I'm physically isolating and I'm alone and I don't have anyone to hug? I've got you covered. So, number 1, self-hug. Hugging yourself sends a strong message to your body and your brain, I've got you, I love you, and you're okay. Hugging yourself is a quick and free act of self-care. So this is how we're going to do some self-hugs. So you cross your arms over on your shoulders, and you can reverse it if that's more comfortable, or you can squeeze around the middle, whichever feels good. Kind of like a big bear hug, but just don't squeeze too tight, like, just where it's comfortable, and you'll be good. And just squeeze until you feel a sense of calmness, and repeat as necessary. Number 2, pillow hug. So you can hug that pillow. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Number 3, you can cuddle with an animal. So if you have a cat or a dog, and come on up here. I've got a, come on up. Oh, look at this. I've got a stuffy. This is Angel the unicorn. And for kids out there, hugging even stuffies can reduce anxiety. So kids out there who have stuffies, great job. You guys got it right. The 4th way we can do it is hug nature. So you can find a nice sunny patch of grass outside in your yard and just let Mother Nature hug you. Or if you're inside, just look out your window and look at, the calmness of snow or the thunder or the rain, and cuddle with a warm blanket, and all these things will be like a warm hug. And number 6, give yourself hug-like affirmations. So you can leave yourself a sticky note saying things like, you're awesome, or I got one here, you're doing a great job. Well, thank you. Or you can, watch them. Cheerful doodles. If you don't know how to write yet, you can draw a picture, and all those things are good. Number 7, treat yourself. So you can wrap yourself in a warm blanket, watch your favorite movie, use that bath bomb you've been saving since 1982. Today is the day. Use that bath bomb. Lastly, send yourself a gift. Mr. Bean has a Christmas special where he writes himself Christmas cards, and then he tucks them under the door, and he finds them, and he's very happy, opens them up, and hangs them up. And you too can be like Mr. Bean. There's a lot of things you can order online, pretty much anything right now. I just ordered myself something from Costco. Oh yeah, and it's cheered me right up. So I would like to give all of you a great big hug and say it's okay to not be okay this week, but perhaps a hug can help.
That was too bad. Mariana Louise was muted, and so you didn't get to hear this wonderful reading. So I want you to hear it, though. This was a reading that Lara shared with me. It came from Facebook. Others have said this, but it's worth a reminder. When you go out and see the empty streets, the empty stadiums, the empty platforms, don't say to yourself, it looks like the end of the world. What you're seeing is love in action. What you're seeing in that negative space is how much we do care for each other. For our grandparents, for our immune-compromised siblings, for the people we will never meet, people whose jobs over this, who have lost jobs over this, some who will lose their businesses, and some will lose their lives. All the more reason to take a moment when you're out on a walk or on your way to the store or just watching the news to look into the emptiness and marvel at all of that love. Let it fill you and sustain you. It isn't the end of the world. It is the most remarkable act of global solidarity we may ever witness. At the foundation of our faith is the recognition that we are bound together in a great web of life. Giving sustenance to that awareness, we turn to honor the joys and concerns that we share, knowing that in so many sacred ways, what touches the life of one of us touches us all. On this amazing and beautiful planet, there are so many countless causes for concern, situations that touch our hearts and call for our compassion. This morning, we hold in our hearts all those who now live or continue to live in turmoil, all those who are beset with fear of what the future may hold. We hold those who are displaced and those who are worried for their own well-being or the well-being of their loved ones. And as we adjust to this strange new world, we hold in our hearts all those who work puts them in harm's way and is considered essential. All those who labor in our healthcare system, the doctors, the nurses, the aides, all those keeping food available, the grocers, the restaurant workers, the truck drivers and the farmers, and those who are working to clean and disinfect our world, the janitors and cleaners and garbage collectors. And to those challenged to find a cure or at least a medical response to the coronavirus, may they continue to collaborate willingly, to share insights, and may their resolve stay steadfast. Knowing that so many issues here and abroad weigh on our minds, let us lift them up in the light of this tiny flame. There are personal sorrows and concerns as well. We hold in love and care this day all those contending with illness, those healing from pain, be it spiritual, physical, or emotional. We think of those struggling with the hard and heartbreaking situations of life. those we virtually embrace who are living in physical isolation by mandate rather than by choice at this time. Think of those we may be carrying in our hearts. Let us now lift them up in silence aloud as we light this tiny candle. We carry so much anxiety these days, and yet there are also joys and great causes for gratitude and celebration. There are milestones of all kinds. If we were together today, being the first Sunday in April, I would have asked you to wave if your birthday is in April. So a shout out to all of those who will be celebrating in a different way. And there are some today joining us for the first time. You are so welcome. It is good to have you with us. And what other joys do you have? Think about them as we light this candle of joy. And another joy we share is our capacity to be generous in so many ways, including giving to what is really important to us, as that includes this community. Meredith Simon, chair of our stewardship team, will now offer an update. Meredith.
Thank you so much, Deborah. In these unusual circumstances, we have had to modify how we run our stewardship campaign quite a bit this year. But I want to thank everybody who's already pledged. It was very wonderful to have the generosity that we've seen so far. I'd like to ask Mitch to show the bar graph of where we're at right now with our pledge campaign. On the left, the blue bar and the green bar are last year's results, and on the right are this year's results so far. We really do need to get as much as we had last year in order to maintain our wonderful staff and programs. And we're getting there slowly. We're maybe close to, we're a good 3/4 there, and that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Mitch. I would also like to remind you that it's possible to continue pledging if you haven't yet via our website. There's a little word at the top of the website page that says give that you can link through, and you can pledge with email at the address pledge@calgaryunitarians.ca. You can do an e-transfer directly to the treasurer@calgaryunitarians.ca. There is also still snail mail, and we welcome everybody who's able to contribute who hasn't already. Now though, today, drum roll, we have our draw for the basket. This basket of wonderful goodies that will draw the names, a name from all the people who have pledged as of midnight last night. Duff has the names on slips and will now make the draw. Over to you, Duff.
Good morning. I'm here to do the draw, and I have here a bowl of 87 names of households from which I will draw. And the lucky winner is Brandis Purcell. And Brandis, your basket will be delivered to you by Meredith, who promised to do that. And back to Deborah.
One of the opportunities that this new way of meeting has provided for us is the chance for us to hear many voices and for us to be able to hear each other's stories And so each Sunday we have what we're calling a members moment. And I invite anyone who would be willing to offer this moment to be in touch with me, and I'll make sure that you have your opportunity. For today, I am so grateful that Ev Dewar has offered to share her reflection on the meaning of this community to her. Ev?
Thank you, Deborah. Um, I was going to open this by saying one of the reasons I love being part of the church was because I won a gift basket, but congratulations, Brandis, it's yours. I came to the Unitarian Church starting 12 years ago when I first moved into the neighborhood, and it was on my way walking to downtown for work. I had been, for several years prior to that, I had been church shopping, trying to find something that fit. I'm not even sure if I knew what I was looking for, but I couldn't find a fit. My world was really healthy physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it was pretty dry. So I stopped in one Sunday and I was taken in by the warmth and the welcoming and the honesty I felt the people at the church greeted me with. It took me a little while. I had to get over the idea of a church with no dogma. Imagine, I'd never heard of such a thing. I worked up the nerve to stay for coffee, and it really wasn't all that long before I knew I found my new home. I felt like I'd come. I got so enamored I fell in love, and my husband at the time was concerned that I joined a cult because I was so excited and I was telling everybody about it. I have a lot of reasons why I'm drawn to and I'm still involved with this church. The three main reasons, I think, are the adult religious exploration programs. Um, the first couple that I joined were really timely. They're a really great way to support our third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. I started with Haunted Church and Build Your Own Theology, which gave me the permission to reject this patriarchal, angry God that I grew up with. And then it took several more for me to start replacing that with something much kinder, gentler, my own sense of mystery and wonder that I still haven't found exactly how to articulate, but I've got some time to work on that. I continue now with theme-based listening, which I really appreciate the group that I'm with and being able to go deeper into the themes, and with the quarterly turn of the wheel spiritual retreats. The second reason is the music. Thank you, Jane. Thank you before Jane. You might not believe that I actually had to be persuaded to join the choir. Somebody suggested I might like it, and now if you ever watch the choir singing when I'm there, I'm right in the middle with this great big goofy grin on my face because I love it so much. Most significantly, why I'm part of this community is because it is a community. I've met some wonderful friends, and I'm honored and thrilled to be part of such a warm, supportive community. I'm wearing, see this shawl? Sheila's introduction on the 7 hugs was so timely. A year ago, I was sick in the hospital, and Deborah brought this shawl to me, and she called it a congregational hug. And it meant a great deal to me then, and it means a lot to me now to know that I'm being hugged by this congregation. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I'm spending about half of my time away from Calgary, but I still stay engaged or try to stay engaged. This online is presenting new opportunities to stay engaged, but as half of the PowerPoint team, I vicariously attend the services all winter by helping prepare the PowerPoints for the services. At the risk of sounding, testimonial, evangelical, revival meeting, and I've had some of those, I have to say that having joined this church, being part of this community has been transformative for me. 12 years ago, I was working really hard on my emotional and spiritual development. And as the expression goes, when the student is ready, the master appears. And it was so timely to meet people here and become part of this church. It didn't change me completely. I'm still me, but I think I'm a stronger, kinder, a better listener, and more inclined to take positive action, to stand on the side of love, or as we now say, answering the call of love. And I've learned that beneath the surface of my life, there's a whole treasure trove to discover, still to discover. And I plan on spending the rest of my life in that exploration with you. Thank you. And now back to Deborah.
Thank you, Ev. I so remember giving you that shawl. That was lovely. So you've heard me mention during the time of Candles of Care and Concern that we are holding Lara Shannon in healing energy as she is healing from a fall and a cold. She was, and we were planning on doing this service together. And I want to be so thankful to Mariana Louise for stepping in. This is what we do for each other, and she has stepped into Lara's place. Now, some of you may recall last year that Lara and I offered a service, and as part of that service, we had an imaginary coffee conversation between Albert Einstein and Parker Palmer. Now, while Einstein was familiar to all, Parker Palmer was not. He is an author, a community organizer, an educator, and a philosopher, grounded in his Quaker faith. He says, and I quote, "The deeper our faith, the more doubt we must endure. The deeper our hope, the more prone we are to despair. The deeper our love, the more pain its loss will bring. These are a few of the paradoxes we must hold as human beings. If we refuse to hold them in the hope of living without doubt, despair, or pain, we also find ourselves living without faith, hope, and love." In his 7th book, yeah, that's 7 again, as Sheila mentioned, 7 Hugs, the title is A Hidden Wholeness, the journey toward an undivided life, welcoming the soul and weaving community in a wounded world. It's this book that was offering the inspiration for Lara and I as we looked at the theme for this month of wholeness. It immediately came to mind, a hidden wholeness. That's what we need to do a service. Who could have known at that time that it would have been so significant? So in the book, Parker Palmer offers insights and strategies for living a congruent life, a life with our internal values and ethics expressed in our outer life. And this is not always an easy journey, he says. He says some journeys are direct and some are circuitous, some are heroic and some are fearful and muddled. But every journey, honestly taken, stands a chance of taking us toward the place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep need. So we are on a collective journey now of healing around the whole planet. Who could have known that this would be where we're at? Our invitation this morning is for this to be a time when you can pause on your journey for a moment and perhaps find some touchstones to help you through this time. As we worked and planned to offer this service, we also realized an alignment with the 7 indigenous teachings. And so we have also woven those into the reflections we'll offer. Those indigenous teachings are love, respect, courage, honesty, wisdom, humility, and truth. I invite you now just to take a moment's pause with this musical interlude as you hear the healing message from a young indigenous jingle dancer, Shyla Tututsits from the Thunderbird First Nation in Saskatchewan. Enjoy.
Hello, Tensei. My name is Charlotte Tatusis, and I am a jingle dress dancer from Thundershout First Nation. Today, I am offering a virtual sidestep healing dance for all the sickness in the world, aka coronavirus. Thank you for joining me. I hope that I inspired you in a good way. I just wanna encourage everyone to be safe and to keep praying for everyone in the world.
Isn't she lovely? So there are a number of in the book, A Hidden Wholeness, one of the key offerings that Parker Palmer gives us is the idea of a circle of trust, an opportunity for someone who is wrestling with a question on their soul is witnessed by others. In order to do this work, there are certain guidelines, principles, touchstones, if you will. I've been very blessed to have been part of a 4-day Circle of Trust retreat every summer for the last 4 years. One of the other people in that group is our first intern, Samaya Oakley, and she painted and gifted me with the stones that you see on the altar. These are just 7 of them. And so I thank Samaya, and we will use these as a way of taking us into the 7 touchstones that we will offer today. With each one, either myself or Mariana Louise will offer just a reflection and weave in the Indigenous understanding as well. And the first stone is welcome. I've so appreciated in the members' sharings that have happened, how one of the first things that's mentioned is the welcome received when they first came to visit our community. This notion of welcome, of being a place where we both give and receive hospitality, is so essential for community and for our own spirits and souls. We talk about a radical hospitality, and practicing radical hospitality requires of us that we listen to each other, that we not make assumptions, and that we move into a place, I use the term namaste, that looking and seeing the blessing, the gift, the essence of you as we begin our communication and conversation together. The Indigenous teaching that we have linked to this first touchstone of welcome is love. And in the Indigenous teaching, love is represented by an eagle soaring with the opportunity to see more broadly, and to see more deeply, perhaps. Let us welcome each other, and let us welcome our own understanding more deeply with every day. And the next stone is be present.
Be present as fully as possible. Be here with your doubts, your fears, failings, as well as your convictions, joys, and successes. Your listening as well as your speaking. The corresponding Indigenous teaching is humility, represented by the wolf. Humility is to know that we are part of a whole of creation. It comes in many forms: compassion, calmness, meekness, gentleness, patience, selflessness, not selfishness, balance and equality within yourself and with others, suspending judgment, assessment, and comparison. We live 2 lives. We live life in our thoughts, often focused on the past or on the future, or we live life as an experience of this present moment. Being present requires us to diminish thinking and allow our senses to take in as fully as we can what is here right now in this moment. It takes practice. There are many roads in. One is to just make a practice of stopping and taking in your surroundings. What do you see? What do you hear? Smell? Feel? Another is a meditation practice. Or you can spend time in nature, best done alone if you want to fully experience moments of stillness and silence. During this stressful time that we are now experiencing, These may or may not shift the balance of thought and experience for you. That shift might occur for you in your gardening or caring for your indoor plants, dancing, sports, singing, making music, knitting. There are endless possibilities. What might yours be? Our third touchstone is respect.
Respect. This is the one that absolutely translated identically with the Indigenous teaching of respect. When I think of respect from that Indigenous perspective, I always think of respecting our elders as one of the key teachings. Right now, in this time, I find ourselves respecting our elders in a whole different way, a little more challenging way, and yet a deep respect, not only for elders, but for each other every time we practice safe practices right now. I have deep respect as well for those who have taken leadership in this time. Leadership both politically, but in neighborhoods, and also my many colleagues and our staff who are stepping up to do so much these days. I have a deep and abiding respect for all of you for practicing safety as well. This is one of the truest ways that we can connect with each other, is to do so respectfully and to listen to each other respectfully. And for me, one of the best ways in communicating that I respect you is when I use I statements rather than you statements. Let us continue to respect one another, to look for ways to respect ourselves as well. And our next stone is open, honest questions.
Learn to respond to others with open, honest questions instead of counsel, corrections, or information. With such questions, we help hear each other into deeper speech. What is an honest, open question? One that you cannot anticipate the answer to, nor do you have any expectation of what that answer might be. It takes practice, and it takes deliberate preparation. When preparing to listen to another, still your busy mind. Quiet the river of observations, judgments, and endless planning ahead thoughts. Breathe deeply and slow down. You are simply holding a space for this other person. Notice their eye color, their presence. What are they saying? What is their body language? Put aside urges to ask, have you read this book? Or have you tried this? Or have you tried that? Trust that a question will come without your working at it, forcing it, or perfecting it. Listen deeply and well. The corresponding Indigenous teaching is honesty, represented by the raven or the sage. Both understand who they are and how to walk in their life. Raven accepts himself and knows how to use his gifts. He does not seek the power, speed, or beauty of others. He uses what he's been given to survive and to thrive, and so must you. Have the courage to do the right thing and say the right thing. Allow truth to be your guide. First, be honest with yourself. Then be honest and trustworthy with others. Give full value to both your own efforts and those efforts of others. We are all in this together. Our next touchstone is wonder.
I find myself with this touchstone of wonder, thinking of the two ways of interpreting wonder. The first is, I wonder about that curiosity that can be a natural response when situations present themselves to us. And the other is that state of awe at the wonder all around us. I find myself in both of those places as we go through this time together. I am awed at, wondered by the amazing way that the whole planet is coming together. And I think it's important also to wonder, as different feelings arise within myself, to wonder what they are and what that is saying about me. Is it a voice telling me something that is a new insight? The Indigenous teaching that we have woven into this is courage. The courage to ask questions, to wonder deeply, to ponder, and to also look within at ourselves and how we address ourselves when feelings or emotions come up. Keep wonder alive. And as it says in the touchstones of Parker Palmer, when the going gets rough, turn to wonder. And our next stone is the inner teacher.
Attend to your own inner teacher. As we explore poems, stories, questions, and silence in a circle of trust, we have a special opportunity to learn from within. So pay close attention to your own reactions and responses to your most important teacher. If you have spent most of your time thinking things through, solving problems with logic, or listening to experts, you may experience difficulty with this. You may find your inner teacher is on sabbatical. Like any skill, listening for inner messages strengthens over time. You start to stop seeking concrete answers out there in the world and begin to seek guidance from signs and signals from your own experience. You start to see everything as an opportunity for reflection or for a lesson. You start to know your body better. You start to know when to push forward and when to pull back. You start to not look at to replicate others' lives, but to find the lessons they've learned and ponder on the things that resonate with you and leave behind the things that don't. You start to listen more than you speak. You meditate, or you journal, or you go outside in nature to see what it is like to be quiet, to see what it is like not to expect anything in particular. Or you have long conversations with others to help coax new insights out of your intuition. Or you do a number of things that inspire creativity, curiosity, and trust in the process that everything will eventually find its place. But to start, just listen. You don't need to be seeking any specific answers at the moment. Just go inside and ask, what am I feeling? That's where it starts. The Indigenous teaching is wisdom, represented by Beaver. He uses his natural gifts wisely for the benefit of his arrival and to benefit his family and community. To cherish knowledge is to know wisdom. Use your inherent gifts wisely. Recognize your differences and those of others in a kind and respectful way. Listen. Observe the life of all things around you. Allow yourself to learn and grow in wisdom. To trust in Creator or the Spirit of life is the beginning of wisdom. Our seventh and last touchstone is possibility.
I don't know about you, but there have been a number of possibilities that have been lifted up in this current crisis. And I've also been in conversations with folks who are feeling a little anxious about talking about the maybe silver linings that are showing up. The fact that our environment is cleaner than it has been in decades. The fact that there is a concerted effort to try and make sure that everyone is taken care of. There are so many possibilities that have presented themselves along with this crisis. And it's true in our own lives as well, that this time of being separate and yet together, this time of confinement, if you will, offers us possibilities to reconnect with people we may not have been in touch with, to delve deeper into our own understanding, to read the books that we've been wanting to read, and to stay connected. There have been seeds planted, and many will come to fruition. Consider possibility as one of the touchstones in your life, so that when you feel like you're going to stumble, that you look at what's possible. We're all going to be doing this in very significantly different ways in the coming days. And I invite us to celebrate the possibilities, as well as acknowledge that some of the possibilities are going to mean big changes for us all. We hope that these touchstones have been helpful and meaningful for you, that you embrace the welcome. Be present, respectful, be open to honest questions, engage wonder, listen to your inner teacher, and search out possibilities. I know for me this week, as we have been working on this service with 7 as part of the theme, if you will, woven in, that the song that has come to mind for me is William Prince's 7. I invite you to, if you like dance, just listen or sing along with this beautiful song, William Prince's 7.
May your love be pure like an eagle, wisdom be under every stone you turn. Let truth be key to freedom and bind you to the path that holds the light. We're the reason that the 7 sins and teachings, each one can wait the other out. Life is two wolves, good and evil, who you feeding? Tell me, are you in or are you out? Oh, be honest and honor each other. Don't make a promise that you'll have to break. Have forgiveness when there's only hatred. Stand up for good, for goodness sake. And may your mind be vast like the ocean. Salvage the lesson from each storm you survive, and let honesty lead you across the sea, forever keep you on the current that carries the light. And in this world that's growing older faster, humility will keep your spirit young. When you're looking far into the future, don't forget how far you've already come. everlasting. Joy bring peace to your life. Surrender your heart to the shepherd. Keep to the path that holds the line. Let respect be the law by which you're driven. 'Cause respect, it gets earned, it ain't given. To our brothers and sisters, born with two spirits, may find the courage to reconcile. 'Cause in this world that's growing older faster, humility will keep your spirit young. When you're looking far into the future, don't forget how far you've already come. Ooh. Wisdom be under every stone you turn. Let truth be key to freedom and bind you to the path that holds the light.
I've been dancing to that all week. My closing words are from Parker Palmer. He says, solitude does not necessarily mean living apart from others. Rather, it means never living apart from oneself. It is not about the absence of other people. It is about being fully present to ourselves, whether or not we are with others. Community does not necessarily mean living face to face with others. Rather, it means never losing the awareness that we are connected to each other. It is not about the presence of other people. It is about being fully open to the reality of relationship, whether or not we are alone. Never has it been more true than now. We extinguish the flame. But the sparks within us remind us that we are connected. In the signal, buzz, and hum sparkling through the space to one another as we connect invisibly but palpably, let us remember that we are one, and that every time we shine our light, we offer others the opportunity to do the same. I'm going to invite Jane to offer our closing benediction and invitation to coffee hour, and remind you that if you can't get in, the password is 1703. Over to you, Jane.
A familiar song can be a great friend at a time like this, and for many of us, the song Spirit of Life is one of our greatest friends. If this is a song you know, please sing along with me, and if it's not a song you know, may this song become one of your friends in the weeks ahead.